For millions of Americans over 60, the next few months could bring an unsettling surprise. Not through legislation or headlines, but through silence. These quiet cuts to Social Security aren't the sweeping reforms promised for 2034. They're subtle bureaucratic slowdowns that may start as soon as December. The first to feel the squeeze will be those with complex work histories, disability applications in progress, or layered survivor benefits.
Backhand index pointing right. If this information helped you, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're always one step ahead. We break down important updates like this clearly so you're never caught off guard. Join our community, stay informed, and take control of your financial future, starting today. Flexed Biceps Calendar.
Groups already navigating some of the most fragile corners of the system. Instead of official notices announcing reductions, beneficiaries may face delayed checks, repeated verification requests, or unexplained holds on their payments. The danger lies in the invisibility of it all. Small, procedural moves that mask real financial pain for those least equipped to absorb it. What's unfolding is less a policy shift and more a systemic tightening, the government quietly adjusting internal levers to control spending before public cuts begin. December's budget cycle often sets the stage for these administrative slowdowns, and this year, it could mark the start of a new, harder-to-detect form of benefit reduction. Those who monitor their Social Security accounts regularly, keep income records current, and respond swiftly to official correspondence will have the best chance of catching problems early. The difference between maintaining stability and losing months of income may come down to simple vigilance, because the first wave of cuts won't be announced. They'll be experienced. The government says Social Security is safe until 2034. That's the official story. That's what they want people to believe. But here's what no one's telling you. The cuts are already starting. Not through legislation. Not through some flashy press conference. But through the back door. Quietly, surgically, and beginning as soon as December of this year. This isn't about fear. It's about facts. And the fact is, early, unannounced reductions are already being implemented. Not with a sweeping law, but through administrative tactics. Delays, reviews, freezes, re-verifications. And it's happening where people are most vulnerable and least likely to notice until it's too late. If you're over 60 and relying on Social Security, you need to hear this. Because you could be one of the first affected. We're not talking about hypothetical changes down the road. We're talking about systemic tightening that begins in December. Right when the government finalizes budgets and quietly shifts internal policies to save money. And no, they won't call them cuts. These are procedural delays, withheld checks, blocked applications, and extended reviews that drag on for months. But the result is the same. You get less money and you get it later, if at all. The first to feel the impact. People with complex work histories. That means folks who've worked multiple part-time jobs. Those who had periods of self-employment. People who shifted industries, changed states, or had breaks in employment. These aren't high-risk individuals. These are ordinary Americans who lived real lives. But now, their Social Security records are a little messy, a little complicated, and that makes them easy targets for administrative delay. And then there are disability applicants. If you're applying for Social Security disability insurance, expect longer wait times. More paperwork. More denials. The agency is under pressure to tighten spending, and the easiest place to start is by making the process harder for new applicants. That's not a guess, that's the pattern. They don't need to change the law. They just add a few more forms, stretch review periods, and hold up approvals pending verification. For you, that means months of delay and no income while you wait. Next up. Widows and survivors with layered benefits. If you've inherited benefits from a spouse while drawing your own, or if you're receiving survivor benefits that overlap with other types of Social Security support, your file gets flagged. Why? Because layered benefits require extra processing. They're complicated. And when agencies look to slow spending, they go after complexity first. They bury it in reviews. They hold it for further documentation. They call it routine, but it's not. It's the first wave of reduction. Early claimants who are still working are also in the line of fire. If you took Social Security before full retirement age and are still earning income, your situation is automatically flagged for potential earnings limits. These files are under scrutiny, especially now. Even a minor misreporting or delay in income updates can trigger a payment freeze. And the burden falls on you to correct it. This isn't paranoia. This is what happens every time the government faces fiscal pressure. The broad cuts might be slated for 2034, but the small-scale rollbacks always start earlier, quietly behind layers of bureaucracy, so the headlines don't catch it. December is the trigger point. That's when federal agencies assess their budgets, run cost projections, and make internal decisions to reduce outflows. These aren't legislative actions. These are administrative recalibrations, and they don't need a single vote in Congress to be implemented. Just a memo, just a policy shift, and they can affect thousands. So what does it look like when this hits? It doesn't come as a letter saying, "You've been cut." Starts with a missed payment, or a letter requesting additional documents, or a sudden review of your earnings history, or a freeze placed on your file pending verification of your income or assets. There's no warning, just a notice and a delay. This is especially devastating for those who aren't watching their accounts closely. If you're not logging into your SSA account regularly, if you're not checking your payment history, if you're not reading every piece of mail from the Social Security Administration, you won't know you've been affected until your payment is late or gone. And once that happens, the system moves slow. Getting answers is difficult. Resolving issues can take months. And during that time, your bills don't stop. Your rent doesn't stop. Your prescriptions don't stop. That's why the most important thing you can do right now is stay vigilant. Log into your SSA account regularly. Check your income records. Confirm that your address and contact details are up to date. Make sure your direct deposit information is accurate. And pay attention to every single piece of mail you get from the Social Security Administration. If you're receiving disability benefits or survivor benefits, make sure your documentation is in order. Review your previous approvals. Keep copies of everything. If they call for additional verification, you don't want to waste weeks scrambling for old paperwork. If you're an early retiree who's still earning, track your income carefully. Know your earnings limits. Report accurately and promptly. Because once they initiate a review, they freeze payments while they sort it out. And that freeze can last for months. And don't wait for a crisis. Contact the Social Security Administration now if anything in your record looks off. Don't assume they'll catch errors. Don't assume they'll notify you in time. You need to take the lead. This isn't just about a handful of people being inconvenienced. It's about thousands of Americans losing part, or all, of their retirement income quietly, and with no media coverage. These aren't theoretical warnings. These are real administrative tactics that agencies use to reduce expenditures without sparking public outrage. And let's be honest, most people won't know what hit them. Because these changes aren't announced with a press release. They're buried in systems, masked as procedural changes. And the first wave will hit those who already have the least margin for error. This is the moment where preparation matters. Because once December hits, the system tightens. Reviews become more aggressive. Payment delays become more common. And anyone with a complicated file, whether it's from working multiple jobs, collecting layered benefits, or dealing with disabilities, will be affected first. If this sounds familiar, or if you're in one of these groups, the time to act is now. Date your records. Respond to every letter. Check your account every week. And if you don't understand something, ask. Call the Social Security Administration. Demand clarity. Don't let a bureaucratic delay rob you of the benefits you spent a lifetime earning. And if this video gave you the information you need, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it, and help someone else avoid the trap. Drop a comment below if you've experienced delays, freezes, or unexplained changes to your benefits. Your story could help someone else spot the early signs. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next update. We'll keep tracking every shift in this system. Stay alert, stay active, and stay in control. Don't let December take you by surprise. Because what's coming in December isn't a future problem. It's already in motion. If you're waiting for a formal announcement to confirm that Social Security cuts have started, you're going to be too late. These aren't legislative cuts that get debated on the House floor. They're operational, silent, embedded deep in the machinery of the system. And it starts by targeting the easiest files to delay. Let's be real. People with simple records who filed at full retirement age have no other benefits and no work income. They're not the priority. The system won't touch them, yet. But those with any kind of complexity, early retirement with income, overlapping survivor benefits, disability claims, or inconsistent work histories, you're under a microscope, because you're harder to process, and that makes it easier to justify delays. Delays that save money for the system at your expense. And here's how they justify it. A delay in processing a benefit isn't technically a cut. It's a review, a verification, an administrative hold. That language protects the system. It lets them say benefits are being managed carefully, while avoiding headlines like Social Security payments withheld. But the impact is the same. You were expecting your money on the third Wednesday of the month. You budgeted for it. You needed to pay rent, to fill prescriptions, to buy groceries. Then it doesn't show up. You call the Social Security office. You wait on hold. And when you finally get someone on the line, they say your file is being reviewed. No timeline, no details, no explanation. Just wait. That's the reality for more and more people. And it's only going to grow as December approaches. Because federal agencies are trying to save money without admitting that cuts have begun. So they go after the people they can delay, confuse, and push aside without immediate blowback. People who are already vulnerable. People who are less likely to fight back. People who are less likely to have a lawyer, a financial advisor, or a well-connected congressman in their corner. They're banking on the idea that you'll be too confused, or too tired to resist. Don't give them that. Right now you need to stay focused. You need to be aggressive about your own case. Monitor your Social Security account like a hawk. Check your payment history. Print your earnings record. Make sure your personal information is accurate and current. Because even the smallest inconsistency, a wrong address, a missing employer report, a W-2 that wasn't filed, can trigger a delay. And once a review begins, the burden is on you to resolve it. If you're dealing with survivor benefits, confirm every detail of your eligibility. If you're drawing on a deceased spouse's record while receiving your own benefits, that complexity puts your file on the radar. Don't assume the agency has it right. Mistakes in layered benefit cases are common, and in times of tightening budgets, those files get flagged for additional verification far more often. If you're applying for disability, brace yourself. Approval times are already long. But with the system under fiscal strain, it's getting worse. Cases are being scrutinized harder. Review teams are being told to hold more files, to request more documentation, to take longer with decisions. Because every delay is a delayed payment, and every delayed payment is money saved, temporarily, for the system. And for early retirees who are still working, you are the prime target. They're watching you. The earnings limit is strict. If you earn even slightly over the limit, before hitting full retirement age, they can reduce your benefits. But it's not just about the income. It's about paperwork. If your earnings aren't reported clearly, or if your income fluctuates from month to month, your file becomes complicated. And that's all they need to slow things down. Here's what they won't tell you. Even if you're under the earnings limit, if your income looks inconsistent or triggers a system alert, they can still flag your account. That means delays, reviews, temporary holds, and yes, benefit suspensions until you clarify your income. This is what happens when a program under stress tries to save money without officially cutting benefits. It shifts the burden to the people who can't afford it. It uses paperwork and delays as a form of silent reduction. And you can't afford to be passive. You need to be ready for this. You need to know the signs. If your payment is late, even by a day, follow up immediately. If you get a letter asking for documents, respond the same day. If your income changes, report it immediately and keep proof. If you're notified of a review, request everything in writing and ask for updates regularly. Don't assume it's a mistake. Don't assume it's temporary. Don't assume someone else is going to fix it for you. Because this is the strategy now. Cuts that don't look like cuts. Suspensions that don't get called suspensions. Budget-driven reviews masked as routine paperwork. And for every person who doesn't act, the system saves money. That's the incentive. Delay enough people quietly, and you create the same effect as a budget cut, without the political fallout. Let's be clear. These are not random mistakes. These are not isolated cases. These are policy decisions. Internal shifts that happen every year in December, when federal agencies close out the books and set internal goals for the new fiscal year. This is when the administrative belt tightens. And 2025's December is set to be the start of something major. Because the pressure is building. Everyone knows the trust fund is projected to be insolvent by 2034. Everyone knows lawmakers are avoiding the hard conversation. So in the meantime, agencies are doing what they can to slow the burn. And that means slowing the money. To you. And let's be honest. If they can start the cuts early without drawing national attention, they will. Don't be caught off guard. Be the person who checks their account every week. Be the person who catches the problem early, before a delay becomes a suspension. Be the person who keeps documentation organized and responds instantly to every request. Because that's what it's going to take. If you've already experienced delays or strange notices, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's a one-time issue. These are the early warning signs. Talk to the Social Security office. File an appeal if necessary. Keep copies of every form, every letter, every piece of correspondence. And tell your friends, your family, your neighbors, the people in your life who rely on these benefits, especially those who are less tech-savvy or less aware of what's happening. Because this won't make headlines. There won't be a warning. And by the time the public catches on, thousands will have already been affected. If you're still watching this video, that means you care enough to protect what you've earned. That means you're not going to sit back and let the system quietly strip away your income. That means you're one of the few people who won't be blindsided. So take this seriously. And here's what they're counting on, that you won't notice. That you'll think the delay is just a technical glitch. That you'll chalk it up to the holidays. That you'll wait patiently while they quietly stall your benefits until the issue is resolved. But here's the truth. The issue isn't your paperwork. It's not your income. It's not your status as a widow, a worker, or a person with a disability. The issue is the system itself. The system is under pressure. And instead of being transparent, it's turning inward. Quietly limiting who gets paid, when, and how much. This is the playbook. Start small. Delay a few payments here. Re-verify a few accounts there. Drag out disability reviews. Flag early retirees with earned income. They know most people won't fight back. They know confusion keeps people passive. And they know that by the time anyone realizes what's happening, the damage will already be done. Let's be blunt. The cuts have already started. Not in the way Congress votes on. Not the way newspapers report. But in the slow, grinding bureaucratic delays that keep checks from hitting accounts. That leave files in limbo. That force seniors to wait on hold for hours just to be told, it's under review. And there's nothing you can do, unless you were prepared. And preparation is the difference between getting your check on time or not at all. Every Social Security recipient needs to check their account right now. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Log into your My Social Security account. Confirm your payment schedule. Review your earnings history. Look for any notices about reviews, updates, or pending actions. If something looks off, don't sit on it. Call the SSA immediately. Demand answers. And if you can't get through, go in person to your local SSA office. This applies especially to those in the most at-risk groups. If you've filed for benefits early and you're still working, pay attention. You're one of the first groups they're watching. Know your earnings limit down to the dollar. Track every paycheck. If you go over, your benefits can be reduced. But even if you don't, any inconsistency can trigger a review. And reviews delay payments. If you're a widow drawing on a spouse's record, especially if you're also receiving your own retirement benefits, your case is considered layered and complicated. That puts you in a high-risk category for administrative slowdown. Make sure your benefit amounts are correct and that all documentation related to your spouse's death and work history is updated and verified. If you're applying for SSDI, expect scrutiny. The agency is overwhelmed and underfunded, and that means longer waits, more denials, and extra steps that slow the process. The sad truth is that the system doesn't prioritize your need. Prioritizes cost containment. And in 2026, that means finding every excuse to stretch out the approval process. And let's not forget SSI recipients. The people on the lowest rungs of the economic ladder, those receiving supplemental security income, are already held to some of the strictest asset and income limits in the entire federal system. And because of that, they're under constant threat of suspension. A few extra dollars in a bank account, a missed reporting deadline, or a small change in household composition could result in your benefits being frozen. That's not hypothetical. That's happening. And December is when it's likely to ramp up, because that's when the agencies start their quiet tightening of the screws. New thresholds, new verification protocols, and new decisions about which files to slow down in the name of budget control. So what do? You become impossible to ignore. You check your SSA account weekly. You verify your earnings. You respond to every letter immediately. You keep all your paperwork organized, scanned, and ready. You stay one step ahead of the delays, the freezes, and the silent cuts. And you never assume the system is working as it should. That's a dangerous assumption in 2025. The system is strained. It's under-resourced. And it's doing whatever it can to reduce outflows without drawing attention. You can't rely on the headlines. You can't wait for a big announcement. You have to be your own advocate. Because the people who are going to be hit hardest in December are the ones who didn't see it coming. Who didn't check their account. Who didn't track their income. Who didn't question that missed check until it was already too late. If this message helped you understand what's really happening, then don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button. Share this with your friends, your family, your neighbors, especially the ones who don't use computers or don't check their accounts regularly. This could save someone's financial future. Drop a comment if you've already been affected. Delayed payments, strange reviews, sudden requests for documents. Your story could help someone else recognize what's happening before it happens to them. And subscribe because we're not done. We'll be following this story every step of the way, tracking every silent shift and every bureaucratic move they make to reduce your benefits under the radar. This is the reality of Social Security in 2025. The cuts are coming, not with a bang but with a whisper. Be ready. Be informed. Be unshakable. Don't let them take what you've earned.